Hello and welcome to today's Kustomize bug scrub. My name is Katrina Berry, my pronouns are she, her, and I'll be running this bug scrub for us today. The idea here is to go through outstanding issues on the Kustomize repo and perhaps ideally resolve them and perhaps also identify potential opportunities for contributions. If at any time you have an issue that you would like us to discuss as a group, feel free to throw it in the chat and or speak up. We can take a look at that right away. Otherwise, we'll just go down the list. And of course, if you have any questions about what we're talking about or just about something that you're working on, this is a perfectly good time to bring those up. I like to propose, instead of using the triage board today, I've noticed that we actually have a lot of issues on the board that have never been triaged. So I want to just tackle those instead of taking the usual approach of looking at, say, ones that haven't been looked at in a while. Specifically, if we're all okay with that, I'd like to start with the ones that are labeled kind bug and have not been triaged because that seems the most important. And then as we get through those, we can just go back to this more generic triage list. So here we go. Okay, so this first one is a little alarming. Let's take a look. Paste the link in the chat here. Install kustomize.sh no longer works. Change in how GitHub API text is returned is causing issues with the bash script. This is the script that we refer to on our docs about how to install Kustomize. So that is pretty important. I think people script against this too. And I'm surprised there's only one issue without upvotes, honestly, if it's completely broken, because usually so many folks script against it that we get like tons of reports right away. Anyway, taken from the operator SDK makefile. Cannot open no such file or directory. See, they are looking for a specific version. So a thought that comes to mind immediately here is that with the 3 series, if they're on an M1, it's not going to work, which is an outstanding issue we have. Well, it's an issue that we're not going to resolve because the 3 series is very old. Anyway, let's see.
They are on Ubuntu though.
They are? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, you're right here. Okay. Let's see what our own docs say, because that doesn't, yeah, let me see. Installation, customize, bindings. Just pipe bash. Also, this notice is incorrect. It does totally work for ARM architecture. We should fix that. Okay, so it's not totally broken. I just tried it myself and it still does work. Can anyone else confirm, or is anyone on Linux? I'm on Mac myself.
I can run it on Linux.
Thanks, Natasha.
Seems to work for me.
they have the arguments incorrect? I'm just wondering what they. Might be doing wrong here.
When they say taken from the operator SDK makefile, what are they talking about? It says that's where they got this command.
It probably. They probably have an integration with us. There was somebody. No, that wasn't operator SDK. That was Cube Builder has some instructions about Kustomize. So I imagine there's something analogous that they're talking about here. SDK make file. I don't know. Install _ Kustomize. Yeah, it's this probably, right? Bash -s version or 3.8.9, which is exactly the version. Oh no, it isn't. 3.8.7, all the same. I download install. I don't know what to say. It works if it works for all of us. I guess triage not reproducible.
Or just more information needed.
Yeah.
Or both, I guess.
Linux AMD 64. Actually.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off or anything.
No, go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say. I just said, oh, and didn't realize I wasn't on mute.
Yeah, I installed Linux AMD 64, some V4 version. That worked fine.
Oh, okay. Natasha, can you try 3.8.7 specifically, just in case?
Is the command that they wrote, is that correct? Like, I don't actually know what arguments this takes and how.
Yeah, it does take that rather than copy paste. I did pipe bash -s -- 3.8.7 and then on location that I wanted, and that worked fine for me. Well, 3.8.7 didn't work fine for me because I am on ARM Mac. So I get the error like it doesn't exist for Darwin ARM 64 as expected.
Okay. Yeah, that worked for me.
Yeah, anyone have an idea about additional information that they could provide that would be helpful?
I don't know if it's additional information, but I did the curl statement that's like halfway down on that output. So I ran that and it doesn't, I think what they're saying is that's coming back in one big long line. And so a grep is not working or something. When I run that, it does not come back in one big long line like that. It comes back pretty printed already. So I don't know if that's a clue to what's happening or what.
Interesting. Like, why would that? Maybe it was like a change that GitHub made and then reverted or something, like some sort of temporary issue that caused it to be returned differently, and that's why we can't reproduce now. Maybe.
If they weren't already on Linux, I would assume that it was a Windows LF versus curl F issue. That's so weird.
Maybe we can ask them if they're still having this problem. We can't reproduce it.
Yeah. Sorry, I just noticed that Chrome signed me out when I restarted it. I'm gonna stop my share and then restart it after signing in. Hopefully the screen share will work on the first try this time. Okay. All right. File this done. Reproduce. Then today's bug scrub, and we were not able to. And please confirm whether you are still experiencing this issue. Triage needs information. For some reason, it's not removing the needs triage automatically lately. So there we go. Yeah. Okay, here's the next one. Paste it in the chat. When implementing a custom transformer using the Walker type. Okay, wow, this is deep in KYAML. To visit YAML nodes, the nodes returned by Walker. Any keys that had null values in the mapping nodes are removed. It's interesting that they're building a transformer with this very low level thing. Right. It reminds me of how we're having a discussion recently about the fact that strategic merge patch removes nulls. Nulls are taken when they're in the strategic merge patch themselves, they're taken as a removal directive, which is part of the strategic merge patch specification. There's less clarity on what they should mean if they're in the source. And currently Kustomize was treating that as a removal directive as well. But the conclusion was it shouldn't be. So I wonder if this is somehow related to that, like if there's a shared implementation here that's saying, hey, nulls mean get rid of me, and it is just doing that automatically. So Walker is a very sort of low-level tool inside KML. I don't know offhand whether or not it's involved in the SMP or other like customized native features or
What Does KYAML involve like the upstream Google developed YAML library?
Not a Google developed one. It's based on GoYAML v3, which
Yeah.
is
Oh, I thought that was by Google. Never mind. But yeah, that's what I was talking about.
yeah, it's a wrapper around that adds like Kubernetes resource model related functionality.
Yeah, I had to deal with. There's like a JSON tag that you can add, but I thought the default behavior was that it. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. I thought that the default behavior is that it's not supposed to just strip it if it's null, but there's a tag that you can add to it, a JSON tag to get rid of it if you don't want it.
Oh,
Let's see if I can find what it looks like.
The issue filer did identify where exactly it's being stripped at the bottom of their issue, and it looks like it's intentional.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if that means it's correct.
yeah, you're right. Oh gosh, it's in field setter.
Yeah.
Oh, so the walker uses field setter, and field setter has this behavior. Strikes me as very plausible that field setter is involved in some customized features that want that behavior. So that would make it a lot harder to fix, even if we decided that this is not correct.
Yeah, I mean, their proposed solution is to add an option to Walker.
Yeah, I guess like it would have to trickle down all the way to here.
Yeah, it's a lot of things to pass down.
Yeah, because it's using field setter as its implementation. If you think about it from the field setter perspective, if you explicitly set a field to null, then that is consistent with other treatments of that, a field explicit to null. So I think like from a field setter perspective, this behavior does make sense. I might assign myself to look at this one in more depth, because I think what I might not end up wanting to respond is like, why are you using Walker to implement your function? That is an extremely low level thing that would be difficult for us to modify, because like Kustomize itself is using it for all sorts of low level features, whereas we have a bunch of tools that are designed for third party authors, function authors, to make function writing easier, and they do implement different ways to do node traversal that might be less thorny. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Is this one? Okay, here's the next one. I think there's a PR related to this that we may have already accepted, but not merged. Let me check the PRs. Is that the same person? No. Okay, yeah, we even started to review this. I'm going to accept this unless anyone notices anything of concern. Oops. All right, next one, customize, localize, repetitive base.
I think this one is a design discussion for localized
So it's,
and not really a bug.
I think I agree with Natasha.
okay, I'll relabel it. Design. I'll leave it with needs triage, and if we have time, which we probably will, because getting through a lot of bugs here, we might get back to it along with the other non-bugs untriaged.
Oh, this is a very old one. There are multiple like duplicate related issues about this. Where if you use the replacement transformer to propagate a name to multiple places, then those references don't get updated. Which I agree that it should, but that's not how the name reference transformer works. It would need a complete redesign.
Right, essentially, the replacements transformer, if it's taking a value from a specific field, then in theory, Kustomize could sort of absorb that information to know that that was actually that these targets are now named references to this. But I don't know if we can actually even do that ever, because in this simple example, it seems to make sense. But imagine the example where we're slicing by field path, we're taking subfields, we're using the delimiter option, then it's not a simple reference anymore.
Yeah, you'd have to save the entire replacement configuration through all the customized layers.
Yeah. Essentially. I'm wondering if, like, why are they using replacements? Is because it's like, are they using replacements when they should be configuring a different transformer? It's kind of what I'm wondering. So they're taking the namespace name and they want to put the namespace name into role binding, cluster role binding, and custom resource, or, well, no, anything. Oh, interesting. This one, they're actually just replacing one namespace with another namespace.
This seems like something they could do with the namespace transformer.
Yeah. Subject sub namespace equals cert manager. So I was just working in this area with the role binding and cluster role binding handling recently. You can configure it now to target namespace, either default namespaces, all namespaces, or no namespaces. but then, yeah, you have to, because this field, I think the namespace transformer does target. Yeah, it might be interesting to, instead of taking this one as a feature request for a replacement transformer, which I'm not convinced, like, I see where you're coming from, Natasha, but I'm not convinced it's actually at all doable to have, like, to derive name reference configuration out of every replacement transformer configuration on the fly. So maybe you can just treat it more as a support question and come up with a different solution for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Is anyone interested in trying out what we're saying, like trying out a combination of namespace transformer configuration and name reference transformer configuration to get the sample working without replacements? I don't really want to do it on a call because it will probably take a while. I guess I can assign it to myself to give that a try after. This one I think I remember, and they didn't have enough information and they never responded. I think I'll just close it. It's rotten at this point. Authentication.
Oh, I think I took a look at this. So this feature is actually implemented in the KRM function version of the Helm plugin. And I think we decided we don't want to add it to Kustomize because it's a pretty large feature.
Okay. Use implement the render Helm. Right, we actually documented that, didn't we? So we should be able to link to our, is that the reference?
Maybe.
where we put it exactly in. Here we go.
Maybe it's under the Helm. Did you find it?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Registry authentication, yeah. I always forget what the triage tag is for that. Triage out of scope, I think, would be appropriate.
Yeah.
It's also not a bug, it's a feature. So triage out of scope. And feature. This will be supported. How do we refer to it here? The KRM. Anything else to add?
That sounds good to me.
I think what's happening with the triage not being removed is that we have some custom triage labels and the bot doesn't know about them. It's must have a static list. if I approve something, it removes the label correctly. I wonder if there's something that we could change about our prow config to fix that. And the last one. Seemingly.release is like another key value file. Is that right? See, Natasha, you assigned it to yourself. Do you remember this one?
I remember seeing it. I don't think I actually looked at it carefully.
Okay, let's go over it quickly on here. Redefine values. So normally these don't come from a file. They're supplied by Helm itself. Is that what it's saying?
If
Any
that's the
Helm users
case,
on the call?
yeah, it's weird to me because if the chart isn't getting rendered properly, I don't really know what we can do because all we do in Kustomize is literally call like Helm template.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, since these don't seem to actually map like directly to these environment variables that the person is pointing out, like what are we supposed to do about it?
Are they able to? Yeah, it seems like there's like Helm sets a bunch of variables. The standard ones come from a values.yaml or those command line arcs, which we have a way for them to inject. But some of them are set by default internally by Helm when you're doing a Helm release operation. And if the chart depends on it, it doesn't work with Kustomize because we're not actually Helm. We're not actually performing a release. We're just performing a templating operation. So in that case, a solution would potentially be to allow them to specify a file that provides these defaults instead of, like, I don't think it would make sense for us to just like put arbitrary values in there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the solution is to pull down the Helm chart and then do your things and then pass it through Kustomize.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it hard for them to just run Helm like as a pre-processing step before sending it to Kustomize?
I'm wondering if this chart is actually depending on being run like end to end in Helm as opposed to the Helm template approach. Like if you just run Helm template independently on here, is there any possible way to make this chart work, or is it like a sort of live only chart somehow? I don't know that much about Helm, obviously, from what I'm saying here. Helm install. Yeah, I don't know. That might be a maybe just a good follow-up question for them is like, is it possible to, well, let me check if I can find that real quick myself. Template command, if it mentions anything about release, create namespace. What? Name template used to name release -- release name. That would be one of the fields they're talking about. Release name and release namespace. Okay, how about like this sounds pretty appropriate to me actually. Since Kustomize is not actually performing a release as part of processing, we are using could this be considered a viable solution if we document it? Any feedback on that response?
That makes sense to me.
And triage needs information. Whether it's a bug or not, I'm not sure. It's kind of borderline. It's like incompatibility with the home features. I think that tag. All right, so that's all the ones that are kind of bug. Right, except the two that I'm going to look into later. So remove that filter. Just on the face of it, this sounds like a feature request, but let's take a look. Kind of the opposite of what we were saying with the other issue. I wonder if they could be using replacements for this, because it has very sophisticated selection. Natasha, does that sound plausible to you that that could work?
Yes, it does. I was trying to dig up another issue because this sounded familiar. I think this has been asked for before,
Oh, excellent.
but replacement seems perfectly reasonable to me.
Make sure we have an example that already match what they're looking for. Yeah, with delimiter option index and create, that should work to create a prefix or a suffix.
So I found the issue I was remembering.
Great. Can you paste in chat?
I'll just paste it in chat.
Avoid adding prefixes. Yeah, I guess it's another way to say the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing.
kind of
That's true.
the reverse.
Did it just rot, or did we respond at some point?
Jeff responded at some point. Oh, but the link he sent is broken.
Yeah, it's all kind oriented though, which is possible already. Right, you can't exactly skip it, but you can re-specify everything that you want, which has the same effect. Whereas you can't use, in this case, you can't use it for this use case at all because it's requiring additional levels of filtering that we don't support.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What the option's called exactly? I don't want to get this wrong here. Delimiter and index. Emitter. Actually grab the link. Here we go. And then triage needs information. And feature. Here's the next one. Huh. I think this has also been asked before. I vaguely remember responding to it. It's definitely not possible, but I'm not sure how to search for that. The kind customization is mentioned in just about every issue ever. They were asking to patch it, maybe. Can't find the old issue, but you could do this using the transformers approach. Ah, maybe I mentioned that last time. Maybe. Apparently not. Unless this is open one. Nope. You could use the transformers approach because at that point, Kustomize is just customization is just a resource, but that would have a very complex structure that I imagine they'll find undesirable. They would have to. How would that even work? I would have to try that to see if it would work, because the standard approach, what you're doing is having transformer configuration in the resources field. And then if it's coming in the resources field instead of as actual transformer configuration, then you're able to target it like a resource and you do whatever you want to it, like you can to any other resource. And then you have a higher level customization that then imports that in the transformers field instead of in the resources field, which lets us know, oh, now this is transformer config, so we should execute it instead of treating it like data. But in this case, customization, when we see it in the resources field, it just looks like a base. That's how you reference a base, is by pointing to a customization.yaml in the resources field. So we don't treat it as a resource. We always evaluate it, even if it's there. So now that I think through it, probably you can't even do that with transformers. Is there any other way? I don't think so. So why do they want to do this, I guess, is the next question. What are they doing exactly? Metadata labels key space, they're changing. Just the default labels that get applied to some other label. So Just trying to think through a use case as far as I can see it here. So this definitely isn't possible. What they're asking for in replacements transformer, it's completely implausible because replacement transformer operates on the data, which is the resource set. So it's definitely like it's not possible to accept. It's nice if we can have a suggestion for them, though. Anyone have an idea? They just have to target one of the presumably many resources that has had that label applied to it. It's the only thing I can think of, which is presumably not what they wanted to do, but I don't know why they would want to avoid that specifically. I'll ask for more information. Oh, this seems like the same question, this next one. Okay. So this one, it's the same thing. Very similar anyway. So I asked pretty much the same question, I think. Like, why can't you, or I suggest just targeting the deployment, the app deployment in question, because it should already have that label on it. So you can just copy it from one field to the other using the replacements transformer. Going to confirm the transformer execution order and then I'll submit that, but we're out of time. Thank you everyone for coming today. It's so great to see so many faces at our bug scrub. I hope you found this useful and hope to see you again next time.